It is definitely important to outsmart everyone when it comes to making money. I would know because I went from not outsmarting really much of anyone. And I grew up in a poor family. I grew up in a broken home. I ended up in my very early 20s, despite all of it, learning skills in order to take several companies from practically nothing to millions of dollars per month. And more recently started a firm that has taken a collective team that's now done over $48 billion in transactions. And so I say all this to point out the fact that you don't need to be born extremely intelligent. Intelligence is something that can be dramatically increased by habits, by routines, by your daily actions. And it's not something that's set in stone. If you feel like you're not as smart as other people or you're not outsmarting people right now, that's definitely not to say that you can't. And I'm going to go over the main things that have been successful for me in increasing my intelligence, which really I consider my mind and my skills to be the absolute greatest assets that I could ever possibly have. And I don't think that there's going to be any better investment for me until I've got, $100 million liquid cash burning a hole in my pocket. I don't think there's anything that is going to possibly produce more cash amongst other things like enjoyment in life and increased well-being and happiness in general than investing it into myself, my skills, my intelligence, etc. And so I'm going to share some stories here and do my best to paint a picture of the difference between people that are able to outsmart others and people that aren't, because there's an increasing gap with all these advancements in technology. There's absolutely fantastic advancements in technology in recent years, with smartphones and AI and all these different things that make it easier than ever to accelerate things being done. Now, things being done aren't always the right thing to do. And so what I mean by that is a lot of people can get sucked into this technology and AI stuff and whatever, and use it in a very unintelligent way. And AI, no technology in and of itself is actually intelligent. It's actually the word AI, artificial intelligence, is really in and of itself a lie, because a computer can't have intelligence. On a very basic level, it takes long strings of numbers and it spits out long strings of numbers and does it so in a way as where it could appear to be intelligent. It could look like it might be intelligent, but really it's only as useful as the user of that computer or artificial intelligence machine, whatever it may be. And so how does one use technology effectively with all these great advancements? It's very apparent to me that the general intelligence of society and the people in it are on a very rapid decline. And technology is being used by and large to spread misinformation. It's being used to promote degenerative things like drugs, like sexual immorality, like things that break up the family unit, things that make somebody's mind worse in the guise of making it better. And there's a lot of lie and untruth that is greatly accelerated through the internet and through technology and so forth. And so the first thing I want to go over here is really just shutting off the majority of the constant stream of information that one might be getting. And, whether this is deleting social media apps off of the phone, limiting the time that's spent at all is really important, quite honestly, because you can think that you're learning, you can think you're getting this really great information, you can think that you're learning things, and you're really just being fed lies, and your life will actually become worse as a result of this. So to paint the picture here and give an example, let's say you want to learn how to start a business that does consulting. We'll just keep it very simple here, something that I'm familiar with. So let's say you're using a computer in order to help you build this business. There's a lot of ways that you could build a business using AI. They're very beneficial. However, let's say you don't know much about what the market actually wants and you trust what AI says about the market, then it's going to give you something that isn't really relevant. Let's say I'm looking to do consulting for gym owners and I want to help them with marketing and sales. I actually did this as a business. This is my first marketing business, really, was a marketing and sales consulting company for gym owners. Okay, so this is sort of a relevant example. When I started that business, AI wasn't so popular. I didn't have the opportunity to even use it then. So my way of finding out what the market actually wanted was by calling people and getting in live communication with them, setting appointments with them, getting them to talk about their problems and whatever the case may be. Now, what would have happened if I used AI in order to try to create that business? It probably wouldn't have worked as well. It probably would have given me some complicated ideas that weren't based on actual truth, and it would have prevented me from actually taking the actions to get into live communication with the people that would actually buy the stuff, because AI isn't buying any stuff. AI isn't paying you any money. People are, live people that have real problems that you may be able to solve only if you find out about them by getting into live communication with them. Then that is the only way that you're really going to build something that's really successful, at least as a service-based business. Now, this business that I had, I ended up selling the company after getting a handful of clients, joined a company, and ended up taking it from about $100,000 a month to $2.3 million per month in sales within 8 months. And then started my next business and went on from there. But the whole point to that is, if I had not taken the approach of just getting into communication with people by picking up the phone and talking to people, then I never would have found out what people actually want, which was they just wanted leads. They wanted Facebook ads in order to get leads. And at the time, that was a very easy tool in order to get good results on. And so it worked out decently well. And this led to the next venture and the next venture. And it was a pretty big stepping stone, even though I only had a handful of clients, which I then later sold to another agency. It was a very large stepping stone into the pretty rapid success that I've had for my age. So I'll give you another example here. Somebody that has approached me, I have no business relationship with this person, but it's a gentleman who approached me some years ago wanting to know how he should start his course. He wanted to create some kind of course, some kind of consulting program, and this is after I had taken a company to millions of dollars a month that was a consulting business. And so he asked me for advice. He said, how do I do this? I have a certain business. He was a trucker. He was very good at trucking, apparently, and negotiating deals as a trucker. And he's like, I make more money than pretty much any trucker I've ever known, and I can teach people how to do this very, very well. What do you recommend I do? So I recommended a certain set of actions. I said, Don't worry about what exactly they're going to sell yet. Just get in communication with people, find out what they want, find out what problems they're having, then put together a package that's maybe 5 or 10 grand, and start to sell those. Create some kind of group coaching. Right. This was the model that I used that was very successful for me. So more recently, this is years and years later, he approaches me and says, "Hey, I want help. I want your help. Can I pick your brain on how I can make this successful business?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we talked about that years ago. Did you ever do any marketing for it? Did you ever start talking to people?" And he's like, "No, I don't really want to talk to truckers. I want to just, sell them a course where I don't have to talk to them. And, I'm still trying to figure out what the best way to do this would be." And getting all complicated about it and trying to do all this research when really you should just be talking to people, right? If you don't even care about your audience enough to actually speak with them and be in live communication with them, then you shouldn't be taking their money and trying to help them, because you're not going to help them very much, I don't think. There's only so far reading or taking some kind of course is going to go if it's not actually applied. Generally speaking, people need someone to be there over their shoulder, actually pushing them to take actions that are going to be beneficial. So I say all this to paint the picture of the fact that in order to outsmart everybody, you need to think less. You need to think less, and you need to listen more to the market, okay? You've got to listen to what people want, and it is actually a benefit if you are new to an industry. Okay, in every business that I've started, I was new to the industry. Okay, there's literally not been a business that I've started yet where I had a bunch of experience. I worked under people at some other firm, or I did apprenticeships at places. Never. It was literally always just going headfirst into something that I really didn't know much about. But I knew what the problems were, and I knew how to communicate about those problems to people. And people would see that I understand their problem, and that I was offering a solution. And then I've made lots of money this way. And I've made a lot of other people lots of money this way. So I'm talking in very general and vague terms here, but this really does apply to pretty much any kind of service-based business, where I'm assuming if you're watching this, your goal is to make a lot of money. And for most people, that's not the end-all be-all, and for me, it's definitely not, but it's something very quantifiable, something that a lot of people can agree on. If you make a lot more money, your life will probably be better. You'll have less worries, you'll have less problems. In some cases, that's not necessarily true, but if you do make money in a way where it's really helping people, people are happy with what you're doing, and it's done in a really big way, where you have leverage and everything is buttoned up the way that it should be, then your life will in fact be better. So going off the basis that you're just going to do whatever it takes in order to increase your production, and as a byproduct of giving people what they want, you're making tons of money. Really, the best way to do this is to learn new skills. Learn new skills that compound on the most valuable skills that you have right now. I started off in sales. So I got a sales job. I was cold calling, selling tools and job site supplies over the phone for some company. I knew nothing about the construction industry or job supplies or anything like that, but it didn't matter. I just picked up a script and read the script, and I started making money. Very simple. I had absolutely no sales skills at the time, but I started making money. I became one of the top sales reps there after some months, after really struggling my way through it, being made fun of by other people there, but just working harder than everyone else. That was sort of my entry level skill, was that I was just willing to work harder than everybody else. I was more disciplined. I wouldn't sit around and chat with other people. I would show up earlier, leave later than everyone else, be on the phones, sell these damn tools and job site supplies by reading the script. And then I would get better at reading the script over months and months. And even though I hadn't really learned any tactics, I wasn't even really truly in communication with people because I was just reading a script. It was a start. It was a start. And then when I went into my next venture, I learned how to be more in communication. I learned how to actually get people to talk so that I could understand them, present things so that they understand me and what I'm offering, and that I really understand that whatever I'm presenting to them is going to solve a problem for them, etc. All right, and this became a more consultative type sale, which allowed me to sell things that were a lot more valuable, a lot more high ticket, much bigger price tags to more sophisticated people. And while that skill has increased and increased and increased, the more that I've done and the more, I suppose, sophisticated people that I've dealt with and deal with now, there's been many other skills that I've learned along the way. For example, marketing is, I'd say, highly underestimated. I know that there's so many people promoting, start a marketing agency to be financially free and all this crap, but I think that the whole agency model is not really great for getting rich. I think you could make some money doing that. You can make okay money, decent money, but I think the model is broken in a way where marketing is a lot more extensive than what most people make it out to be. Marketing at its core is really creating the demand. It's creating the want, the desire, the need for something, or finding it. That's basically what marketing is, right? And it's making people want a product or service through materials, through promotion. That's in essence what marketing is. Okay, and that's how you get people to pay you money. Now, sales is what happens after you get onto the phone with the person or what have you for things that are more high ticket and actually take the deal over the line. So sales, closing can be important as well, but I actually learned that marketing is a much more high leverage skill, I would say, than sales. The sales is still necessary, but if you have really excellent marketing skills and you can really understand a market and give that market what it wants or what it needs, what it didn't know that it needed, and now you're communicating it in a way where they understand their problem better and they now know that they need something that you sell, then that is very good marketing. And that takes a lot of competence, it takes skill, it takes intelligence, and it is one of the best ways to increase your intelligence in making money is by doing marketing. Okay, by finding out about the market that you want to serve. Finding out what their problems are, finding out what the pain is, finding out the inefficiencies, the absolutely wacky stuff that everybody's doing wrong in a market. That's what's going to make you really smart and really outsmart everybody in the market, is by continuing to study a market and really understand the problems enough to where solutions just sort of come about naturally. You have these realizations about how to solve things sort of while in the shower or on the toilet or while you're making food, while you're driving, whatever. You just think about these things and these ideas will sort of just come to you as a result of being so interested in a market and wanting to engage and do something in that market. And in essence, marketing is truly finding out or creating what a market wants. And by doing that, you will make insane amounts of money. Okay? It's about the packaging of all of those things. The packaging of the solution of whatever problem or issue or thing that the market already wants or should want and will want once you present it to them. And that is how you outsmart everybody. That is how you really do it big. This is how Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, they're all master marketers. They might not call themselves marketers. They might not even know that they're doing marketing. But the way that they've come to understand their markets and distribute their solutions, that is all marketing. I think Elon Musk even says something like he doesn't believe in marketing. Well, then apparently he doesn't have marketing properly defined, because he is one of the greatest marketers that exists. The way that he engineers his products and his brand, and the way that he understands the market and creates these products and these services that he does, he's doing marketing. He must have some other idea of what marketing is. Maybe that marketing is like pushing things on people or I don't know. I think a lot of people have marketing very mixed up. But by elite level marketing, that is how you outsmart everybody. You become smarter as you do it. The best way to learn is always by doing. And you, of course, want to study. I study every single day of my life for more hours than you could imagine. But by actually doing and applying what you learn about certain subjects or the markets or skills or whatever the case may be, you, in essence, become smarter. And that is the greatest asset that you can possibly have. It is something that produces unlimited dividends, unlimited returns, unlimited profits, because it is something that you can literally make money out of nothing. If you invest in real estate or some kind of shit coin or whatever, it's all very speculative. You can make a very educated guess that you're going to make money. It's not necessarily a gamble all the time if you study it really hard and that kind of stuff, but it's very speculative. As where when you invest in compounding skills, you can control the outcomes of what you're doing. You can control the outcome of your investment, as where with other forms of investments, whatever that may be, that's usually not the case. So this is how you outsmart everybody and are able to make tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars without investing a single cent into real estate, into stocks, into shit coins or Bitcoins or whatever the hell kind of coins. Some of the richest people in the world have done so based on compounding skills. And majority of the people that I look up to have done so. So that's how you do it.